Hey folks, how are you? Welcome to Pop Culture SquadCast Live. We are live. It's a Tuesday night, and we're here. We're going to be here. Well, I'm here. Mike's probably not going to be here tonight. We're undergoing some stuff here, but hopefully he'll be back to join us soon enough. We have a great show for you tonight. I am a little bit freaked out. I'm going to try and hold it together. We have a fantastic guest for you guys tonight. Kelly Sue DeConnick is going to be on the show. I'm going to let you guys know right now. I have never spoken to her. We have communicated a little bit online over the years, a little bit. I think she's fantastic. Absolutely love her latest book, FML, and we're going to get into a lot of that tonight. It is, I think, some of her most personal work, and I think she does it really well. It's not easy to do that. We're going to talk about that. It is, as I said, it's Tuesday night. That means tomorrow is Wednesday, and what do we like on Wednesday? Wednesday is New Comic Book Day. There are new comics in the shop. We do here at Pop Culture Squad a weekly column, try to be weekly, where we talk to you about and give you the new number ones this week. There's so many new comics that come out all the time, and there's a lot of them, and there's good things coming out. But we kind of have a column, and I'm going to put it in the column. I'm going to put it in the comments right now, and you guys can see where it is. We focus on the new number ones, new series starting, new series restarting, and graphic novels. They're in the comments right there. That's where this week's article is, and you can get to it right now. I want to talk about some of the books that are coming out this week, and it's important. So we're going to talk about the new number ones, and as I mentioned, they come out every week. What are they? I've mentioned it. I've said it, and we're going to say it one more time. New number one. New number one. All right, new number one. That was hokey and wacky, but we are going to talk about new number ones. There's about 3 or 4 books that I want to really highlight tonight before we get to our guest and before we get to some other things. The first one is called Bitchcraft. I'm going to give you the synopsis really quickly here. It's from Mad Cave Studios. It was written by Aaron Reese with art by Lima Carrill and cover art by A.L. Kaplan. It's set against the backdrop of modern day New York City during a seemingly permanent supernatural eclipse. Bitchcraft follows a queer coven bound by magic and blood, each bring their own flair to the craft of a pretentious oracle who speaks with gods, an emo necromancer with a forked tongue, and a nature witch with the soul of a fairy tale princess. Under the guidance of their enigmatic guardian, the coven discovers that they're at the center of an ancient prophecy, with all of which kind hanging in the balance. Sounds fantastic. It looks great. I've seen some of the interiors. We're really excited about this book. We talked about it earlier on the SquadCast with Stephanie Williams. The writer of this book is no longer with us, unfortunately, and this is their debut book. Aaron Reese isn't around anymore, and we feel badly for that and for his family. But this book should be celebrated, and we hope you go out and give it a shot. I'm excited for it. Besides Bitchcraft, there's a couple of other books, and this is kind of fun, right? What are we going to talk about here? Oops, we lost our little. There we go. Crypto is coming out, and Jeff the Landshark. DC and Marvel are both giving us books that are animal based, and we love that because that's what comics are about. Comics are about being fun, and we have Jeff the Landshark. And if you're not familiar with Jeff the Landshark, what rock have you been sleeping under? Jeff the Landshark was created by Kelly Thompson and Gurihara along with some others. In some of the books that she she wrote. He is a lovable character that made his way into the Marvel universe. He has been a huge topic of discussion in the Marvel video game Marvel Rivals. And listen, uh, he's had digital books, he's had some one shots, and this is the first ongoing, well, miniseries, but it's multiple issues of Jeff the Land Shark. We're excited. It's fun. Listen, he can't. Doctor Strange is in it. That's good. Um, yeah, listen, it's fun. That's what comics are about. The other book that DC is putting out that's animal based is Crypto, The Last Dog of Krypton, written by Ryan North, art by Mike Norton. I think colors are Ian Herring. This cover is Jay Lee. Crypto is it may be the summer of Superman, but it is also the summer of crypto. And DC is not stupid, and is definitely cashing in on the crypto mania that's going on. The dog crypto. Well, listen, I could say dog crypto, and that means something else. Listen, the alien. I keep getting stuck. I'm trying to differentiate between current events and the fictional character about an alien dog from the planet Krypton whose name is Crypto. And he's going to be in the new Superman movie. He's in this book. This is a mini series, The Last Dog of Krypton, written by Ryan North with art by Mike Norton. It is I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it's going to be fun. Listen, if there's somebody drawing a dog and it's not Mike Norton, you're making a mistake. Not, and I don't mean to diminish other people, but Mike Norton is an expert, as we will find out in a couple of weeks, because he will be joining the SquadCast, and we are going to talk about his latest Kickstarter, which is dog related, as you might mention or might guess. We're looking forward to this book. I think it's going to be fun. I have not seen it yet, but I just found it interesting that both Jeff the Land Shark and Crypto were hitting shelves this week as new number ones. So yeah, Mike Norton, yay! We're happy with that. The last book that I wanted to talk about in the new number one segment this week is called The Last Witch. It is the volume 2 of The Last Witch. This is called Blood and Betrayal. So The Last Witch already has a complete volume 1. It's published by Boom Studios in the Boombox imprint. Written by Connor McCreary, art by VV Glass, and I've read this issue. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I got an early copy of it, and I love it. I think it's good. I think it's a good story. I think it's about witchcraft. So it's bitchcraft and witchcraft. This is definitely witchcraft related, but it's super well done. Really smartly designed. A lot of the pages, I finished the page and I'm like, man, that was well done. That was a really well done page. The story is really interesting. The story is about a young witch who's trying to deal with her powers and the legacy that they come with, as well as finding out the rest of the supernatural world that she lives in. It takes place in Ireland. It's a lot of Irish lore, which I think is fun. I'm very excited for that. Like I said, I really love this book. I highly recommend it. Go out and get a copy of The Last Witch, however you get it, whether you're a comic shop or you get it digitally or whatever. It's definitely something that we're going to want to be talking about in the future. So I think those are the big new number ones that we want to talk about. So I'm going to take a break on this, and we'll get out of the new number one segment, and we're going to move on to something else. So thanks everybody for listening to that. Let me know if there's anything that you guys are looking forward to. Hey Blake, good to see you. Glad you're here. We're working our way through tonight. So, as I said, those are the new number ones we're talking about. There's some other news that's going on. This is related to some convention stuff that's going on. Before I get to the more pressing convention stuff, I want to talk about some news that came out uh, yesterday, and we're gonna we're probably gonna be this is probably gonna be the beginning of talking about this. But our good friends at the Ignition Press are giving some announcements. The first that was given, the first announcement that we started talking about, or they talked about yesterday, is the Ignition Press Room. The Ignition Press Room is going to be a place for people to be at San Diego Comic Con. It is going to be available for people who are in the media. It is going to be available for people who are attendees. For it is basically called a pop-up experience for fans and press. It's going to be at the Gaslamp District at 643 G Street. There's going to be signings, events, retail space. There's going to be press lounge. There's going to be refreshments. Creators expected to appear include Jeremy Hahn, Cullen Bunn, Leah Williams, Stephanie Williams, the Williams sisters, Nikki Miranda, Mike Tisserand, and David Baldion. Half of those people have all been on the Squadcast, and we're looking forward to seeing them there. This will be my first time going to San Diego Comic-Con. I am super excited, and I will definitely be there. Ignition Press is one of the new publishers that came out of last year's San Diego Comic-Con. There was a bunch of them. This one is definitely moving forward at a pretty steady pace. There's announcements that are coming out. I expect there's going to be another announcement coming out probably in 2 days. I'm expecting a Juneteenth announcement regarding Stephanie Williams. Could be Ignition Press related, but they just released the information about Voyeur, which is the Leah Williams book that's going to be coming out. There was some new covers released today for Murder Podcast. This is they're definitely serious about what they're doing here. We like Ignition Press. We like the people there. We are interested in the stories that they're looking to tell. So yeah, this is definitely something that we're going to keep our heads in the, we're going to keep looking at it. Who knows how words come out of my mouth. We'll figure that out. So that's happening next month. If you're going to San Diego Comic-Con, keep that in mind. It'll be a place to hang out. There'll be some interesting signings there. There'll be things to go and check out. So Ignition Press will be at San Diego Comic-Con at the Ignition Press Room, right? What else? What else is going on? Well, this weekend, for the second time this year, I will be out in public. My wife and I will both be making the trip down to Charlotte for this year's Heroes Con. Been there before. I'm going to be at Heroes Con. This is a great logo that they have with Mike Allred and Mad Men. And Mike Allred is going to be at Heroes Con. So definitely excited about that. This is a show that if you haven't gone to and you have the ability to go to, you should definitely put it on your list. It's something that if you love comics, you will love being at this show. They never have any celebrity guests. Their guests are all comic book professionals. There are not walls of prints. There are not tons of gaming situations. It is about comics. It's about comics art. It's about comic storytelling, the paneling and scheduling of programming is usually top notch. They're really interesting stories where people are talking about their craft or they're talking about their career in the craft. It's definitely a highlight of our year. We definitely like to make sure we get there. I will be there this weekend. Stay tuned to Pop Culture Squad. Stay tuned to all of our socials because I'm going to try and do some video recording and kind of get them up live. We'll be trying to take some pictures and see what's going on. Anybody who's been there will tell you that it's a show you need to do. There's some people that I know who are doing it for the first time, so we're excited for them. Excuse me, folks. But as I said, Heroes Con this weekend. Then we have San Diego Comic-Con coming up next month. The following month, we'll be at Terrificon helping out Hero Initiative, which if you don't know what Hero Initiative, go to heroinitiative.org and find out what that's about and do what you can to support it. Where do we go from here? What's going on in terms of the news? There's some, I don't know if you know, but there's a movie coming out in about a month, less than a month now until we get to Superman. I have not watched the last trailer. I've heard people say amazing things about the last trailer. If you want to comment about what you thought about the last trailer, you can let me know. But I'm not going to watch it. I've seen enough to know that I want to see this movie. It is, it's got a decent cast. And when I say decent, I mean it's not too big. It's close to being too big. It's a question. It's a conversation that we need to have. How much is too much? We don't want to do everything in one. We want to build a little bit. But I think they can make it work. I think if we focus the story on the Man of Steel and his relationships and his motivation, I think it'll be good. It looks good. So that's happening. Beyond that, Fantastic Four comes out later in July. Fantastic Four, I am a little more reserved, but hopeful for. There's been interesting conversations that people have had about Fantastic Four. So Blake's saying, I hate trailers, they give everything away. And I totally get that. They can be a problem. I think that we've gotten enough. I don't need any more. I know what the cast looks like. I know and I'm happy with that. We kind of talked about this last week on the show. The villain that the trailers have shown us appears to be, Lex Luthor is in it, and he seems to be an antagonist. I kind of have a feeling, just from storytelling knowledge, that there's probably going to be some other type of villains associated with things. I think it's going to be okay. Fantastic Four, again, there's some concerns about the casting that people have, and I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I want to be thrilled with a Fantastic Four movie. There's something else that I wanted to talk about. And if you haven't done this is something that's important to me. It's important to the industry. It's important to certain things. Because there's this part of comic books that is, I think, the perfect example of a necessary evil. Comic books have seen a revival. That's an important word I'm going to give you there. In the last 25 years. There has been more buzz about them. They have become more accepted. The failures and the mess of the 90s, are an example of how comic books were treated and revered and respected. With the success of first the MCU and then subsequently a bunch of other things, comic books are able to be here today. It's not always given. There's a lot of bad news in the industry right now about press and stuff like that, about publishers and struggling with what they're at. But we we are where we are because comics are viable in the media, and comics being viable in the media is a good thing. There's plenty of comics out there that we've read, that you've read, and I've read, that you can tell that this was a failed screenplay. That it was a screenplay that didn't get made, and so somebody decided to turn it into a comic. It's a story we've heard. Well, I mean, some people have said it outright. Kevin Smith said he had a treatment for $6 Million Man. It didn't get picked up. He made a comic for it. It was okay, not great. But that being said, sometimes there are comics out there that are really good and they get optioned and they turn into something that is a mass media event. The Boys is an example of that. Invincible is an example of that too. It's two different companies. Well, this past week, another property that was a comic book became a sci-fi TV series, and it has gotten 93% positive on Rotten Tomatoes. It is Revival. I'm going to get a picture up here while we're talking about it, but it is called Revival. It was written by Tim Seeley with art by Mike Norton, because it's Mike Norton Day at Pop Culture Squad right now. It will be in a couple of weeks also, but it is on Sci-Fi right now. Episode 1 is available. It's on, I think, Thursdays. But we'll look at this. Let's get this up here. This is what the cover looks like. There are, I guess, two episodes so far. It's got a 6.7 on IMDb. This is where I'm getting this from. It is episode 2 comes out on Thursday. So episode 1's out, episode 2 is coming out on Thursday. I'm super excited for these guys. Super excited for Tim, who's been on the show a bunch of times, and Mike, who's going to be on the show. Anybody who's seen it, let us know what you think. I haven't watched it yet, but I plan to try and get to it at some point as soon as I possibly can. If we weren't traveling this weekend, I definitely would be this weekend. We're trying to keep the SquadCast going. I got some editing to do, and we're here tonight, and we are going to be here pretty much every Tuesday night for the foreseeable future. But it's really good when you see a show, take off. And this is something that's been going on for a while. Like, this isn't new to me. This didn't just pop up. I've been aware that Revival is coming. And the quality looks good. I'm happy for them. We need things like this to do well, because there are a certain level of investment in comics that comes from published media. It's a two-edged sword. We don't want, as an industry and as a medium, you don't want it to just be a feeding ground for film and TV. But when film and TV is willing to invest and willing to support, we need to take the money, right? That's part of it. But it encourages additional growth in the industry. It encourages more stories to be told in the medium, and that is what grows the medium into more and more things. We're going to talk, I hope, soon enough with our guest tonight. She'll be here shortly, about how do we keep this medium growing in the way that that we want it to. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. As always, we're expecting Kelly Sue to be here shortly. We've gone a little longer than normal. So she's going to be here in just a minute. I'm very excited. Um, I'm going to give you some coming soon stuff too, because we want to let you guys know that you may be here for Kelly Sue, but there are, we do other stuff here on this show. We're here every Tuesday night. It's we talk about comics. We love the medium. We have already recorded an episode with Sarah Litt, who is an editor at Ahoy. It was fantastic. I have to edit that up probably tomorrow night. It's probably going to hit your airwaves on Thursday. Stay tuned to Pop Culture Squad and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, wherever you're watching this. So you get notified. Next week, Amanda Dibert and Kat Staggs are going to be on the show. I have been trying to get them on the show for probably a couple of years now. Since we started doing this live, I have wanted to have them on the show. I am super excited for that. Rich Case is going to be on following that. Rich, his art's hanging right here behind me. He is a friend of the show. He is a very, very important person in terms of where comics is today and how it has gotten to where it is. Also, it's something that we, kind of what we were talking about in moving comic book material from comics to, movie or TV, because he was very involved in the Doom Patrol series that was adapted by HBO Max. Mike Norton, we've mentioned him a few times tonight. He's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks on the 8th of July. And then following that, Jordan Clark is going to be on the show. And we're doing a little bit of spoilery ahead stuff here, but Jordan Clark has a book coming out with Ahoy. And we do talk about that with Sarah Litt a little bit in the episode that we've recorded. And you guys are going to get that, I think, on Thursday. Again, stay tuned to our socials so that you know where we're available and when we're available and when the shows are going to be available. That's what we have booked right now. I have some other things that are already getting lined up. And I don't know. I'm going to keep doing this till you tell me to stop or till people stop watching or both. But, I just love sharing comics with you guys. I'm excited to go to Heroes this weekend and get to talk to folks there about what they're doing, about the new things that they're doing. Mike and I often talk about we get into the weeds of how a page is made and how a story goes from beginning to end and where the things are. And it's just something that I love to share with people. And I love to be able to, first of all, read it. Like when there's a comic book in front of me, I'm going to read it. It's rare that I don't like it. I mean, there happens. It happens. There are some notable things that I don't like. But it's fun. I went to, Father's Day was this weekend, and there's this whole concept about, what do dads want? And I know I'm filling time here because our guest is not quite here, but she has let us know she will be here shortly. So I'm going to fill a little bit of time. I'm going to show you. This is what I did on Father's Day, folks. This is about 50 comics that I went to my local comic shop, and they have a tent sale every Father's Day. And at that tent sale, every comic is 50 cents. So that's what I did. I went and I picked up these mostly 80s, some 90s comics for 50 comics for $25. And let me tell you, they smell like a nice old basement or an attic. And I love it. But thanks for dealing with us in the intro section, folks. I am super excited, and I have to stop talking for a second because our guest is here in the green room, and we're going to bring her in because I need to stop talking for 1 second. And thanks everybody for being here, and please welcome in Kelly Sue DeConnick. Hi.
Hello.
I welcome so much to the show. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for
I
having me.
well, I've always wanted to have you on the show, and I'm so glad you're interested in coming on. We started talking about FML, and I want to start there, but you know, uh, I'm thank you again so much for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
This this I read FML as it was coming out, the first arc. For those who don't know, it's by Dark Horse Comics. David Lopez is the artist. Chris Peter does the colors. Clayton Cowles does the letters. Um, and the first 4 issues came out, and now issue 5 is coming out this next month, right? In
Mhm.
July, right? So I read the first 3, didn't quite get to 4, but I read all 5 of them again today. And I love this book so much.
Yay.
I
Me too.
I I feel like there's more of you in this book than anything else you've ever done. Am I wrong?
It's certainly more literal. My husband and I were talking about this the other day that I think all of my books are personal,
Sure.
but this one is, I mean, it's not exactly literal. It's
No,
we
of
describe it
course.
as like it's like the wind chill. It's like what it feels like rather than what it really is.
Sure. Sure.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there's very clearly characters based um on myself and my family. But also like 50% of the DNA though is David, so there's like you know,
Yeah, well, let me tell you, he draws a really nice mat.
yeah, yes, he does. He
Like
does.
Matt should be like slipping him some money under the table there. I mean,
There you go. He's yeah, David was great. He came to visit and like brought his family so he could get like the Portland stuff right. But it was funny too because we'd already done a little bit. We had some in the can before he got here. And so when he went to Witch's Castle, which is, a significant location in the book, he was like, no, it's not. Like the way you get there, you can't drive your car up. And he was very upset about it. And I was like, it really doesn't matter. It's okay. No one cares. So,
um, what was it difficult to make it as wind chill versus real? Like, I mean, where you put things that were, you know, that represented you in a more accurate way. Like, obviously there's a lot of your emotion and your personality and everything in the things you write, but
yeah.
this is like, if anybody who follows you on social media, and for a long time or for a lot of times, you've been very open about your personal life in social media.
Mhm.
I mean, I looked at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I recognize this. um and we don't know each other personally, but like
Yeah.
I can see that. Was that difficult? Was that when you decided to make that choice and then you actually started writing it, did you question it, or you was like, no, this is what I want to do?
Um, I don't know if I ever decided. I think it sort of crept up on me. Wasn't a plan. Let's see. Okay. So the book was supposed to be a like a kind of a fantasy thing.
Okay.
Uh like literally like a D&D type thing.
Mhm.
Um and we had like 7 pages of that are drawn. I think when we do the collection, we'll put those in the end. Um, but it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. It wasn't clicking, and it was a thing that I was I was trying to do something for David because like that's very much something that he loves, and I was kind of faking it. And it just, when you're lying, it reads, and
So
so it's just like I got sort of like, I don't know that this is clicking, and he was like, just do what you want to do, write the story you want to write, and I will make it work. And so I was like, okay, and then there were some starting places where, my teenage son, and so there was a lot of like going in, kind of interrogating that relationship, and what is it like for what's it like for him to be growing up in this moment, and what is it like from what is my experience of trying to parent him in this moment.
sure.
Um and so as soon as we started doing that, then it was like, oh, okay, this is what the book wants to be.
So it's very interesting. I did have a question here. Was how did the story come together, and what was the conversation? What was that conversation with David like? And so you've answered that because I'm
Okay.
sure it was like that. But the concept of the dynamic between Patty and Riley, um, it's using so many voices can be challenging, but the way that it's presented and the way that it's broken down, there are these esoteric, thought sequences that happen, and people are speaking in thought, and then they come to the main reality of what's going on.
Hmm.
um there's two primary perspectives. There are two voices,
Yes.
and shades of those voices, right? So there's a lot of
Yeah.
different perspective. Why do you feel that was the choice for telling the story in this way?
um I think we part of it is we always want to celebrate what comics can do,
Yeah.
right?
And
um
that's one of the things that I always, as I was reading this, is just you can't do this other than in comics, and it's so well done.
yeah. I work in other media, and I enjoy other media, but I don't ever want the comics work to be proof of concept for something else. Like, let's make a comic because we want to make a comic. Um
I
and
was just talking about that before you joined the show. We were
yeah, oh
talking
really?
about, yeah,
Yeah.
because Revival came out this week and or last week, and we don't we enjoy the fact of comics being moving mediums, but we don't want it to be proving ground.
Right.
We've all seen those comics that were failed scripts, and
Yeah. um and so it's like, what were some ways that we could do something with this in comics that could kind of only be done in that way. And the fact that Patty is a cartoonist, and Riley, um kind of processes his anxiety through his drawings, um made it a natural way. David really loves manga as well, and early in my career, I did a lot of manga adaptations, and so I've always liked uh, chibi. Like, I've always
yeah,
liked
yeah,
the little cartoons of cartoons that
right,
will like address. They'll break the fourth wall. It's really interesting to me.
yeah,
And it's a remarkably natural, easy to read. And so
sure,
actually in the scripts, when we go into those subjective point of view moments where Riley's drawing of himself interacts with the audience, or with Patty's drawing of herself, we refer to them as Chibi Riley and Chibi Patty.
oh, okay,
yeah, or a chibi mom actually. But even though they're not chibi style,
No, but yeah, I totally get it.
but
It's
that's how they
and that's
function.
what
Yeah.
and that's great, you know. Um, Also, you can get a dead nuclear physicist to show up and walk around if you want.
You know?
Why not?
Yeah.
He's a major character in the book, I think.
Yeah, he is.
As Lilith says, I like it when he shows up.
I don't I don't know why. I don't know. Um,
He's there. He tells a
yeah.
good story. He I mean, it's okay. So that you may not know why, but that is part of why you are continuing to do what you're doing, because that piece, it's very small. It's almost nothing, but it draws a line and it
Mhm.
makes the story flow. And I really appreciate it. I have goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I love the way that works. That everything about this book works. And thank you for it.
Oh, yeah. I'm really, really been enjoying it. And yeah, and it's fun to have those. Like there was one morning when I was walking my dad's dogs, I was listening to a podcast about Feynman, and there was a bit in there that just really resonated with me. And then when I came to writing that scene, I was like, I think I'm gonna put Feynman. And then it was like, as I was sort of plotting that out, it was like, oh no, actually, this is a decent tool to have in this toolbox. And also part of the conceit of this world is
Why
just
not?
it crazy happens,
Yeah.
and you're just gonna keep going.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the you get that very early on, right?
yes.
In basically the first two or three pages of issue 2. We're like,
Mhm.
doesn't matter. Giant hairy kid with horns. We're got to go to school. You got to
Yep.
get to school. And
Yep.
I understand that. Like, so as a father, there's so much of this. My youngest is 20 now. So, but I've been through all of that, and it doesn't matter about whatever the thing is. You have to get to point B, and you're gonna be there, and things are gonna go crazy, and that's so much represented in this book.
Yeah. And David is really, really good at using making all of the different art styles
Yeah.
distinct but cohesive enough
Oh
for it
yeah.
to really look it all belongs together. It is all of a piece, but they're all very distinct, and it's just mind-boggling. And then we have delineated particular styles, and so in the script I'll call for styles, but then every once in a while something will happen where he just like the heart scene, which is like just a
Oh
real parental moment.
yeah.
um he sent those pages in, and it was like, oh, this looks like a Japanese horror comic. This one moment when there's a black and white moment when her heart is kind of leaving her body,
Mhm.
and it really does look like
Yeah. It's a little.
like Junji Ito reference,
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
and then later when the Riley is the full
Big one.
size.
The
Yeah.
big one. I know. Um. There's another piece in this book. First of all, if you haven't read the book, please, people who are watching, there's this really interesting story that I still don't know where it's going, because that's the best part about it. Like, I don't know that there's an end, because in the book there's a book that doesn't have an end. So I don't know if this book has an end, but um, there's also this tremendous amount of back matter in each issue, a
Yeah.
lot. And I want to kind of highlight the back matter of issue 4
Okay.
because, like, I cried in what you shared there, and thank you for sharing it.
Mhm.
A lot of it has to do with your relationship with your son and how things went and where you are, and um why did you want that there in that book that everyone can read now?
Um, so there's outside reasons and there's inside reasons. And the
Okay.
outside reasons are the practical things. I always try to provide a lot of back matter because comics are expensive and
Sure, but it
uh,
costs more for back matter. It seems like your outside pages, like,
yeah, I mean it's I just want, especially because I am very, very bad at monthly comics. Like I am not a fast writer. I revise a lot. I throw things out. Um, my, I have a lot of different jobs and responsibilities. So this might be the last monthly comic I ever do because it's so stressful for me. Um,
well, that's disappointing, but also understandable. It's
um,
always understandable. It's hard. This is not an easy job. Let's be
yeah,
real. It's
it
fun
is.
and it's fantastic, but it's not easy.
I you never get me out of comics, but
Right.
I don't know that I can do monthly. I don't, it's just I can put together about 4 issues and then I'm behind. No matter how far ahead I start. It just always. And so and then I feel very guilty and it's like I feel like everybody's waiting for me. It's really upsetting, but I don't bleh, so
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear my dogs. Can you hear my dogs?
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
No
Sorry.
worries. I can hear
Um,
you.
but so comics are expensive. I want to be value. I want there to be a lot to read, a lot to spend time with. And so, we're always trying to like have Lauren design cool stuff and W do things and like do some community stuff and then just things to read. So those are the outside reasons. And then the inside reason is like a lot of the FML is like Patty looking back at this sort of unresolved stuff from her youth.
Mhm.
And um I was born in 1970 and so like 90s zine culture. I was a young woman. I had a zine. I was I moved to New York in I think 94, 93, 94. And so the inside part was just kind of that working on this book has brought up a lot of my own feelings about bringing that and this together um and wanting to kind of reflect that the vulnerability of zines, which they're just so personal,
Sure.
um, and personal essays are a kind of writing that I enjoy, and I'm always sort of surprised by what I discover. I think that the the challenge is for them to not become what's the word I want here? Self-indulgent, I guess.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think they're self-indulgent. I think there's a line there's a line at the back where you say, "I am compact and he is vast."
Mm-hmm.
And as a short person, I think I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
I am compact. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But it's you're such a wonderful writer.
Thank you.
And I really, really, really was moved by it. I encourage people to go and read it. Is there 8 issues? Is that the end of this? Is there more?
8 is the end of this arc.
Okay.
And there is a plan to continue.
It can be in collected graphic novel form. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just keep it going.
No,
I don't need it. I don't need it every month. I just need it eventually. Fine.
there's a I have to clear with some people before I talk about but there is a specific plan. And there are also a number of other stories that we think would be suitable to
Okay.
like we know what the second arc is, but then
Okay.
there's also a kind of side adventure that I want to do.
I'm not opposed to that. I mean, it's I have the wheels are turning. Like I can see where this could go. One of the things that's kind of interesting, in terms of how you set the story in the world of 2025, or where we are today, but in the last 5 years or so, like podcasting is a huge role in it, and listening to podcasts. And we happen to be on one right now, I guess.
Yeah.
A little bit, but like just how much that has become something that people consume. Everybody, even for the most part, our age or younger, listens to some podcast somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And you definitely kind of bring that in. But what do you think of that? Like how where we are and how we're consuming things differently than when we grew up?
Well, yeah, I'm a voracious podcast consumer. I don't watch very much television. I think I've seen 2 or 3 movies this year. But I go through hours of podcasts and audiobooks, all constantly. And some of them, I have a complicated relationship with the true crime ones that I listen to.
Okay.
And that's part
This
of
one, this is about a true crime podcast. I mean, like, there's part of it.
So the stuff that Patty deliberately, it's focused on true crime because it's a thing that I wanted to, like, why do I find this comforting? Like like there's something really jacked up about that like,
I mean, you're not the only one.
No, not by a long shot.
I mean, like, there's a comic that's about to come out called Murder Podcast, right?
Yeah.
And that's nobody's questioning that.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, it's I have different theories about it, and I've talked to for FML, I did some like informational interviews with different podcasters, wanting to, yeah, sure, me too. um, uh, Wanting to figure out, what do you think it is? What is this about? What my first theory was that it was like it's a like hypervigilance, um,
Mhm.
and like in this moment when it sort of feels like everything is out of control, there's this way of sort of, when you're listening to these things, it feels like you're educating yourself about the bad guys, so you're going to be able to recognize it, right? Like, which
Right,
that's
right,
not
right.
how it works, by the way. But it sort of feels that way. And also, like for me in particular, I don't like if I want to convince myself that, that there's some kind of service that like I could be doing, then I should be listening to the unsolved ones, because those are the ones where it's like, well, maybe you know somebody who knows somebody that knows something, or where they're really trying to get the story out so they can get new leads, or whatever. I don't like those. um i
Why don't you
i
like those?
because they don't, whatever it is about the true crime stories that I find soothing. Part of what is the balm for me is
It's
that
over.
they're resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Robert's asking, is he the only one who doesn't do? I'm not a huge fan of them. I
yeah.
don't. I get they get up. My issue is the overproduction,
Oh yeah.
and
Well,
and I
it's
it's bonkers.
oh yeah.
And Sherry watches and listens to them, and that's all fine, but like there's a bit of an obsession to me
Yeah.
that, like, for example, there are things that people want to see, like even Dateline had a huge thing about the guy, the murder that happened in Idaho,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not hasn't happened yet. I
Yeah.
don't need don't give me a huge expose. Let the trial happen. Let him be found guilty and convicted, and
Right.
then tell us about it. But
Right.
there's this need to feed, to constantly be on the edge.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It,
and
and
it's
it's spilled into scripted things, whether it's comic books, whether it's TV shows. Only Murders in the Building has won how many awards, because, and it's all based on the concept of a murder podcast.
yeah. And it's not 100% obviously, but there's a gendered component. Like it's overwhelmingly a female audience,
Okay.
which is really interesting. I'm like, I don't know
Oh
what
yeah.
that is about. Um, uh,
Well, I mean, wouldn't would it be? I think it would be fair to me to suspect that the overwhelming um, there's a disproportionate number of victims that are female
mhm,
in these
sure,
whether it's just in these stories, or just or actually in the
yeah,
population of people who are
absolutely,
murdered.
right, yeah. So I
Um,
mean, so that makes the tie into the like hypervigilance thing, right? And
sure,
also, it's interesting as well how true crime has evolved, right? So it was in the 40s, it was very much a male audience, right? And there was a like the sort of true detective kind of thing, and they
in
and then
cold
we
blood type of thing.
right, and then we moved into the 70s and 80s, and then there was a real focus on the the monsters, on the serial killers, right?
Sure.
And
Yep.
the modern true crime tends to be very victim focused. And it's interesting to see how it's evolved, and it's interesting to see how the audiences have changed too as it has evolved. And it is there's a disproportionate number of women who find this to be a soothing thing to
Well,
listen.
you're right. I mean, I know off the top of my head, plenty, several,
Yeah,
more than a few,
yeah.
women who will go to sleep to forensic files.
Mhm.
You
Oh,
know,
totally. I know there's I listened to one called Dead Sleep that's literally made to listen to as you're going to sleep. And my husband is
I'm
like,
gonna have to.
"Could we
I'm
maybe?"
afraid that's gonna show up on in my bedroom at night or something like
Yeah, sorry.
that.
Um, yeah, no, my husband is like, "Could we not have, like, murder before 10 a.m., please?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm putting my earbuds in," you know?
Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, it's crazy. You brought him up, so I'm gonna jump to this.
yeah.
What you don't know is that we're in the middle of a 3-week block of guests where the spouses are with both spouses in the industry. Last week we had Morgan Beam and Jorge Corona on. We have you
Oh,
on now, and your spouse is also in the industry. And next week, Amanda Diber and Kat Staggs are going to be on. So,
yay.
um, I have a question for you about that. I know Matt's not
Yeah.
here to talk about it, but um, is there a most important thing that you guys can point to for navigating a family with 2 comic book writers in it? Is it something that is even a part of your psyche or awareness, or you both have jobs, they happen to be in the same industry, and or you don't even notice it?
Yeah, I guess I don't. I mean, I notice it, I guess. I like there's a thing about the fact that both of us, neither one of us has a traditional job.
True.
And so that is more the thing that is like, you know, there we both work from home. We both, um, we don't have a 401k, like,
Yeah.
uh, but, it's also really important to us to model for young writers that you can have a really normal middle class life in the arts, like
Sure.
you
It's
can do it.
and you do that. I
Yeah.
think you do that. I think you do that well.
It is doable. It is there are pluses and minuses, and uh you have to bear in mind that you will not have the same security um backstops that come with more traditional jobs,
Sure.
but there are ways to make those things up, and um
Yeah. I mean, that you're getting to the point. I mean, I think it's definitely the case that when one person is in this industry and somebody else has a job with health insurance, it helps each other because one can you know have the job that doesn't have health insurance that's
right.
going to make them more fulfilled or something like that, and give that stability. When the both of you are not, then you have to make adjustments
Mhm.
to back that up, and I think you guys do a great job of it. um and I think you do a great job of showing younger people how to do it, and I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah. um
Gene, I just wanted Gene posted in here that if you're not worried, if you're worried about the monster in the bushes, it can be relieved to see it finally. So Gene's watching. Thanks, Gene.
yeah, hi Jean. What a consummate professional, and also
Oh,
just a
he's great.
really nice man.
He is one of the nicest men in comics,
Yeah.
without a doubt. And just
um
um, but yeah, like so that's the thing. You guys have in a lot of public ways, raised these two teenagers.
Mhm.
And I, as somebody who, just sees what you post on Instagram or has for the past years, it just seems like you're very aware of where you are, and that's important. I think that's the most important thing, of being aware of how things could be different, and making sure that they are not, that everybody's safe within that.
Yeah. And it's and that's an FML thing, right? That
Right.
like,
That's why, again, we keep coming back to, that's why I feel
yeah.
it's so much of you, and not in the things that you've been talking about and things that you've shared. And it could be that you're not like this at all. It could be that you're not at all like this, but the persona that Kelly Sue DeConnick has shown
Mhm.
feels very present in FML.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um and like trying to navigate that with the kids,
Mhm.
where it was like making sure that they understood that these characters were based on them,
Sure.
certainly, but are not them. And um, and I couldn't put them in danger. If I was really trying to write them, I wouldn't be able to put them in
Sure.
peril. Um, and so, but also like making sure that they understand that like I have no desire to embarrass you or uh invade your privacy, or so they get to read everything first, and can like nix things. um
Did they?
they haven't, no. um Tallulah's Henry's kind of is like, oh, is the next issue ready or whatever, he's
He's
interested
kind of
in it,
interested in it.
but he's not participatory. T will pitch me stuff, you
Oh,
know.
listen, that child, is I've been a fan of hers since,
Yeah,
she's something else.
she is extraordinary. She in fact, a lot of the stuff for the like the guests at the true crime convention and stuff, a lot of that is her. Like she
I
came
believe,
up with that stuff. And uh she's very funny.
I gotta say, I really enjoyed the way that your eyes lit up when you started to really embrace her and talk about her for a second there.
She's she's pretty terrific.
She,
I'm incredibly fortunate. Like I like two teenagers I really enjoy spending time with.
yeah,
Um and that's great.
it is very great, and you've done a great job. As but Robert says the same thing. He's um so I want to talk about something else.
Sure.
um I want to talk about Visible Women for a little bit.
Okay.
um I'm going to put that up here. So Visible Women is a hashtag. I think I spelled it wrong, so I'm going to take that down. um it's a hashtag that's on social media that kind of brings uh, female creators to attention, or brings attention to female creators. They're underrepresented in, you know, arts, I would say, in terms of getting things done. And you made a point to create this hashtag and celebrate this, and push it. There was a quote that you had that I saw. It says, "I didn't grow up Kelly Sue. I was Kelly. I use Sue, and I insist on using Sue. So when someone sees a book with my name on it, they know it was written by a woman, and I want a little girl who sees that to know that it's something she can do. I want to share with you, and I've shared this on the SquadCast before, but you don't know it, so I'm telling you. I remember very, very distinctly when first time I read ElfQuest, the first ElfQuest I got, which is when the Epic run was happening.
Yeah.
And so I was 10, 11, 12, something like that. And I read it and I looked at it and I said, this book was written and drawn by a woman. That is so cool. Like, it was a thing. And I was, I love ElfQuest, but but I remember being very, very excited for that because I know I didn't notice a woman's name prior to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just so much that can kind of like go under our radar, and like in our culture, and it's becoming more and more complicated to talk about gender as our understanding of gender is becoming more nuanced. But there, in our culture, men are high status and women are lower status, and yes, there are distinctions there. Women tend to be higher status in private spaces and men in public spaces, and but in general, if something is considered to be for women or for girls, it is a lower value. So like when we, chick lit is derogatory. Chick flicks, or it's derogatory. Like if you, pink on a book cover will lower sales. There are issues there. And so for a long time, things like targeted marketing, where they figured out how to game those tendencies in our culture in a way that was more profitable, but I think comes at a cost because it really ingrains and teaches those tendencies. And so, like the first Avengers toy sets did not include Black Widow when the film came out, even just like recently as whatever that was in the 2000s,
I mean, there's the Young Justice was canceled because the viewership was too female and they didn't think they could sell enough toys. That's a story I've heard.
And the perception was that boys would not buy a set with a girl doll in it, or want it or put it on their list, right? And then when the Captain Marvel movie came out, for the first time ever in my experience, I met little boys who were willing to say that their favorite superhero was a girl,
Mm-hmm.
And it's this thing where like we're allowed to cross-identify up, but not cross-identify down. So
yeah, I get the point. Like, it's okay for a girl to say that her favorite superhero is Superman,
right?
But
Or
not to be Wonder Woman for a boy.
But so like a girl could wear a little girl could wear like a Superman themed outfit and would be fine. But if a little boy were to wear a Wonder Woman, oh, like, is he okay?
I have Wonder Woman underpants. So.
There you go. Yeah. And so it's just like to see that changing is really gratifying because I think that the way those little boys will think of the women in their lives is going to be different than the way you and I think of the women in our lives.
I hope so. I mean, it's, when I was, from the age of like 8, I lived in a house with, like, I was the only male in the house.
Mm-hmm.
There were 5 other women, my mother and my sister, and my mom had 2 women boarders, and one of them had a daughter. So when I read ElfQuest, I took it to one of the boarders. I'm like, it was the first comic that I evangelized, and it was a woman, an adult. She was like 25 or something. I'm like, this is a really good story. You would like this. And she read it. She read it like crazy. So
yeah. And ElfQuest is such a like boundary breaker for that reason. Like,
yes.
Yeah, it's great. Like,
but I get what you're saying. I think that I hope that people, that the more people think have less rigid roles assigned to gender.
Yeah.
I think that anybody can be anything. And I think that we need to get more. I think, and maybe you have a different opinion, but I think that over the past 25 years, there's been a steady, at least some growth in the representation, in both behind the page and on the page.
Absolutely.
And I think that we're better for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And honestly, I think I was trying to express this a couple of weeks ago on a Instagram live thing I did, and I don't think I expressed it very well. So I don't know if I've gotten any better at it since then, but let me try again. But I think that this current reaction that we're seeing in this like swing right in our politics, I think is actually just evidence of progress.
Okay. I see. I get the point.
Like, I think every time there are big leaps forward, there's like a freak out,
Sure.
And doesn't make it good or safe or comfortable, but
I hope, and I'll give you this. I hope that you're under the impression that the leap forward, while there's the reaction, and you said right reaction or reaction from the right, you hope that's not, you don't lose everything you've gained.
I don't think we will.
And I don't think we will either.
Yeah.
But I also, part of the thing that bothers me so much is that I don't know that they're reacting to anything enough, right? We haven't made enough progress for them to react as harshly as they are, because they're reacting to things that they're just being they're being terrified of or being terrorized about.
Yes. Yeah, and and these are people's lives. Like, we don't have the we can try to contextualize it, but this is the time we have to be alive. And it's a I don't even need to finish that sentence.
You don't.
Well,
You
we're
don't.
on the same page.
We're good.
Yeah.
I have a couple of quick hit things because I thank you for spending the time here. And
Yeah.
but I have a couple quick hit. Do you encourage your kids to read comics? And if so, what?
Yeah, I don't actually have to encourage my kids to read comics. My kids are voracious consumers of comics to the point where we have bought them like unlimited subscriptions because we cannot keep up.
Sure.
And and there's just not space in the house for all of them.
Sure. I understand.
But and in
And
fact,
I have there's a wall of boxes.
yeah. There's a there was a mix up a few years ago in New York when McCubbin and I were meeting at New York Comic Con, and I had Henry with me, and I thought she was getting in at 9 a.m., but she wasn't getting in until 9 p.m. And so he had to go take a meeting with me. And it was Joe Illage, but I can't remember what company he was with at the time.
He was
But
probably with Valiant at that time.
I think it was Valiant. And I wasn't familiar with their books, but Henry was with me at the meeting, and Henry basically took the meeting. Henry knew which was Archer and Armstrong, I think.
Yep, sure, yeah.
And
He was with Valiant at that time.
yeah, and yeah, Henry was like, oh yeah, I've read that. I was like, I think you got the job. You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
That's awesome. If someone has never read a comic, is there one or two that you recommend?
I mean,
I will say this. Listen, I'm asking this question because it's just an interesting idea, like what you would think of, because I know from my own perspective that every person gets a different recommendation, right? Because
yeah,
it's got to be something that that it's gonna vibe with them, or that they're gonna, because you don't want to
right,
give somebody something that they're gonna hate and then they never pick up another comic.
exactly. I mean, there are certainly comics that I like. I my work. If somebody asks me like where to start with my work, I'm like, oh, don't start with Pretty Deadly, because I think that one is a um more challenging read, but my husband is like, don't tell them not to read your book. And like uh and I don't mean that. I just mean I feel like it's like, if you haven't read a comic before, the
No, Big
you
Planet's fine. Start with that.
yeah, but he has pointed out that, like, every time we do a show, there's, will be somebody for whom like Pretty Deadly was their first comic, or the first comic that really clicked with them or whatever. And he's like, you don't know. So I
You
guess
don't know.
yeah,
That is one of my favorite stories about that, is that
yeah,
someone once asked John Ostrander, what was the comic that he worked on that he hated the most, and he told this story about this. He didn't want to do the story, but the artist wanted to write this story about this golden space whale, and he like didn't know it, so he was like he really hated the idea and he struggled with it, and then
yeah,
the artist quit. It was a two-parter, and he quit between issue 1 and 2, and he had to finish it all by himself. By
yeah.
the way, it's Tim Truman we're talking about here, right? And
Okay.
Tim quit, and I think it was on it wasn't Grimjack, but it was something else. And 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 the person in the front row was like, that's my favorite story of all time.
Yeah.
So
You don't know, yeah. And I think when somebody is new to comics, or somebody says that like I don't know how to read comics, which is the thing you'll hear sometimes. I think there's no better starting place than Scott McCloud.
sure.
And he not only educates, he entertains and demonstrates, and he makes it obvious and easy. really complicated ideas, and and he does it in this way that simultaneously elevates, so you're like, oh no, we're a real art form,
Yeah, yeah.
and is an invitation, not a like, well, there's a lot of really complicated semiotics here, and it's like, no, let's see how cool this is, and here's
Yeah.
how it works in your brain, um, and I
Yeah, like,
find
is there
that people who have even just like a seeing interest in, like, oh, I haven't really read a lot of comics. I'm like, oh, Scott McCloud will make you a believer. So,
it's interesting because, you know, I learned to read comics when it wasn't difficult to read comics, right?
mhm.
Just the way that the page layouts were. They're simple. There's no the insets weren't there, the overlaps weren't there. Occasionally you could figure them out, but and then I have a pet peeve, and it is the double page paneled spread. Is It is so often done wrong
Yeah,
because people don't cross the spine with the
yep,
top tier, and it pisses me off. Um,
yeah,
um, but but today a lot of people are, a lot of artists or writers or some combination of are really trying to push the boundaries of how to lay things out on a page, and I can certainly understand why it would be some more challenging to back to something like Scott, where he's, kind of giving you all of the options of how it can be done, like the format of reading through line. Like, I didn't even, it wasn't until, I was in this industry and paying attention to things that I understood what I was actually doing and how to read it,
yeah,
because it's just so intuitive to me.
yeah. I mean, left to right, top to bottom, right?
Right. But
It's a Z,
yeah,
and
but
it's
I've encountered people who are newer to it, and they're like, where do I go next?
yeah. Or the question: do you read the words or the pictures first? I'm like,
Right. I
I
don't
don't
know.
no, I don't think you. I don't know how to answer that question because it's a simultaneous experience.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, it's I don't think it's incredibly complicated, and I think one evidence of that, bit of evidence of that, I guess, is the manga boom, right? That how many young women in particular uh learn to read backwards, uh
Sure.
uh
Sure.
to just so they could consume content that they enjoy. Like, you can do it. It's not that hard. um uh but people they come in with ideas that it's going to be complicated. It's unfamiliar,
Sure.
um but uh but yeah, Scott has a way of Scott, like we're really tight. Like, I think I've
Yeah.
interacted with the man like twice. He was lovely, but
Yeah. For sure.
I
I
don't
have
know
not.
that we're on a first name basis. But
Listen,
I think
everybody
he's
calls
just
me Kelly
brilliant.
Sue, so don't get over it.
Okay. I think he's brilliant. And I'm really excited about uh his book with Raina Telgemeier,
Yes.
which I have not picked up yet, but I think will be foundational for the next generation. So,
Um, I have one more quick hit question, and then we're gonna
sure.
let you go. Before we get to that, is there any place that you want to let people know that they can find you or see you, in the near future? Or are you gonna just hold up in Portland for the foreseeable future?
What have I got coming up?
Are you gonna
I
go? Are you going to San Diego?
I'm not going to San Diego. I don't think I'm going to New York. We just got an invite to a show in Spain that
You should
I'm
do that.
trying to figure out if we can do, because
Anything in Europe that invites you, you should go.
yeah, I mean, and it's Emma's there, David
Mhm.
is there.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
If Europe invites you, you go.
yeah,
Write that down. If it's
yeah,
Europe, yes.
yeah. So it's like the first month of Henry's senior year, so I will see. But we're thinking about that. But right now, I don't. Um, I'm going to the next stage immersive summit in LA in August. But I'm just an attendee, so
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
fun.
So I'll see you there if you're there. And then I have some work travel, but I don't think I have any other like appearances scheduled. Wait, maybe there's. I also have like turned over my calendar to Denise to handle for me because I can't be
Denise is
trusted.
wonderful. I just want to
She's
let you know
incredible.
she's
Denise
great.
Espinoza. Shout out to Denise, my assistant,
Yeah.
who is just a lifesaver. And I haven't been on the internet or social media as much lately as I ordinarily am. Oh, Jordan Clark. Is
Jordan's going to be on the show in a couple weeks.
Oh, Jordan is extraordinary. And I owe Jordan a pull quote. I think it was due yesterday, and I haven't turned it in yet.
Well, we're going to talk about what you're going to owe him a pull quote for in a couple weeks.
Okay. All right. I haven't forgotten, Jordan. I'm just running behind. But yeah, so I haven't been on the internet as much lately because I'm running behind on everything.
Well, you know.
Yeah. And that's like
Okay.
that, that's stuff that FML is about, right? Like sandwich generation stuff. But
Right.
I've got teenagers and elders to look after, and 3 dogs of ours and 2 dogs of my dad's, and
Yeah.
it's just a lot.
Yeah, we're
So,
all there. And
yeah.
also it's ugly sometimes. Sometimes not
Yeah.
so.
Although like I'm off Twitter.
Oh yes, we are too. There's no Pop Culture Squad on Twitter anymore.
Good. Yeah, it's just I don't miss it either. Don't miss it at all.
Nope.
I like Blue Sky, and then we
Right.
have a Discord for FML that's just a
Yeah.
super lovely group of people. And most of the folks I know have like gone to sort of private public spaces. And it's nice. I'm on Instagram probably more than I should be, but it tends to be like, while I'm waiting for something, I'll open that up and scroll. I don't post as much, but I do repost to my stories all the time. But I'm like your aunt. I'm like like Nana. I'm like, oh, I think you'll think this is funny. And I'll it's like the equivalent of my grandparents used to cut things out of the newspaper. This made me think of you. And so mine is like, oh, here's a funny video that made me think of you.
I had a conversation with a friend whose mother is like 92, and she's got like an iPad, and I guess she's got Instagram on it. And so she'll tell my friend, oh, your daughter, she sent me a picture. Meanwhile, she just posted it on Instagram because she sent it to her. Right.
Sure. Yeah, totally. My grandmother used to sign voicemails, so she would leave me a message, and she would say, okay, love Nana.
Yeah. No, we're in that stage.
Yes. I have to like program the VCR. I have to call my children to turn on the television. Like, I want to watch this thing. I don't, apparently just on won't do it. So you find it.
Well, I am the one who gets called to do
Yes.
in our house.
I think that's why I do more podcasts than anything else. It's just like anything else requires like, well, where is that streaming and blah,
Yes.
and how do I is it on cable or how do I there's 9 million like forget it. I know how the podcast app works.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So last question.
Yes.
Again, thank you for being here. This is, I think I know the answer to this because it's, I took it from FML. But
Okay.
if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
I think it would be to freeze time
Interesting.
so that I could take a minute. I'm a
There's
slow
this guy who
thinker.
wrote a book about that a little bit. I'm just saying.
I know. He has planned for that. It's a little quicker.
His way is really fun too.
Yes. But yeah, no, I'm a slow thinker, and I'm like, I need to take a breath a lot, and I feel like this world just moves faster and faster and faster, and I think so. I would pause. A pause button would be my superpower. And then Robert asked about my
No, I've seen them. I love them. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge. There are a few of us huge MASH fans in this industry.
Yes.
I remember being allowed to stay up till 9 o'clock to watch the finale.
Oh,
I was 10, I think. So,
and it's interesting too because like I hated it then. The finale.
oh yeah.
Oh
yeah, you hated it. Well, first of all, it was ending.
Yes, right. Yes,
Second of all,
yes,
it didn't end the way you wanted it to end.
No, in retrospect, I think it's brilliant. I think it's one of those things that I was too young to appreciate.
Oh, sure, that's fine. But
Yeah,
that's the beauty of art because perspective is everything,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, I thought you were going to say pyrokinesis.
Oh no, I feel like I have that power. I'm Sicilian.
I'm not going to argue with you on that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this. Again, if you haven't read FML, it's issue 5 comes out in July. The first 4 are. Are you collecting the first 4 as a trade, or is it just one?
No, we'll collect 8. We'll collect 8.
So you can get the first 4 wherever you get comics. I'm sure they're available. It is.
And we will not collect all the same back matter. We'll put different back matter in the trade. So that is another reason that we do that back matter is incentive reason to pick up the individual issues.
You should absolutely get the individual issues. They're you don't want to wait on it. But in the meantime, thank you so much.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you very much. And please pass on my greetings to Mike.
I will. He hopefully I will definitely say that. Also, Kidlet says hi too.
Yay! It's such a joy that the like fun that we have where there's watching kids grow up and see people that we've seen just over the years at shows and now they're off to college and
yeah, we've known Sam that long too, so she's amazing. So anyway, thank you again so much. Thanks for everybody for watching.
Thank you.
Get and read FML and the next thing as well, whatever that is.
All right.
Thanks so much.
All right, we'll see you on the internet.
Okay, bye. All right, everybody. I thank you so much for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for interacting. We appreciate it. We will be back next week. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there will be a pre-recorded SquadCast that will go live sometime in the next few days or so. But next week we're going to be back here. I'm going to be here at least for sure. And we're going to be here with Amanda Dybert and Kat Staggs. Yes, Robert, we'll see you soon. We will see you in a couple of days. I'm really excited for this book, for this couple to come on. They're a married couple, and like I said, we're in the kind of the midst of a 3 weeks in a row of talking to people who's are married to people in the business, which is kind of interesting. And I like talking about that dynamic and what it means and how it works. Plus, Kat and Amanda have a book coming out with Storm King that is the second volume of their Death Face Watch. I don't know. We'll talk about it next week. Please be here. It'll be fun. Gene, I hope I don't bore you in the front half. It's just me, but I'll try and get better at this depending on how long we are. But folks, I'll be at Heroes this weekend. We will be posting stuff on popculturesquad.com. Make sure you are following us wherever it is. We're also going to try and put stuff on YouTube Shorts. We're going to try and put stuff on TikTok, on Blue Sky. You know where to find us. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you later. Thanks everybody for being here.
This has been a production of the Pop Culture Squad Network. PopCultureSquad.com. How do you nerd?